The world feels different right now. Not just tense, not just uncertain. Something heavier is in the air. Iran, Israel, America. Missiles fired, cities threatened, alliances breaking. And every single morning you wake up, reach for your phone, and the news is worse than yesterday. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, a question rises inside you. A question you might be almost afraid to ask out loud. Where is God right now? Because if He is truly all-powerful, why is this still happening? Stay with me, because what I am about to share will not just comfort you, it will change how you see everything. First, let us understand what this conflict is actually doing to the human mind. Scientists have a name for what happens to the brain during prolonged crisis. They call it hypervigilance. Your brain is wired for survival. When it detects danger, it floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate rises, your breathing shortens, your entire nervous system locks into a state of high alert. Now here's what most people do not know. This response was designed for short-term threats, a sudden emergency. Your brain deals with it and then returns to calm. But when the threat never ends, when the news cycle keeps feeding your brain danger after danger, hour after hour, day after day, your nervous system never gets the signal to relax. You cannot sleep properly. You cannot think clearly. You feel a constant, low-level dread that you cannot even explain. You scroll through headlines looking for certainty, and every single scroll makes it worse. And here's the most dangerous part. When fear becomes the constant background of your life, it doesn't just affect your emotions, it literally reshapes your brain. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, grows more reactive. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for peace, clarity, and hope, gets suppressed. In simple words, prolonged fear makes it harder to think clearly, harder to feel hope, and harder to sense God. You start to feel like He is distant, silent, maybe even absent, but that feeling is not the truth. That feeling is what prolonged fear does to a human mind. Now, let me show you something that will stop you completely, because this is not the first time the world has felt like it was falling apart. In the 8th century BC, the Assyrian Empire was the most terrifying military force the ancient world had ever seen. They didn't just conquer cities, they demolished them. They scattered entire populations. Nations fell before them like dominoes. And the people of God were watching it happen, feeling exactly what you're feeling right now. Terror, confusion, silence from heaven. And in that exact moment, a man named Isaiah stood up and wrote these words, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Isaiah 41:10. This was not written from a place of comfort. This was written when empires were collapsing and the future looked completely dark. And then, centuries later, David wrote Psalm 46 in the middle of his own era of war and chaos. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, even though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Did you hear that? Even though the earth be removed. David was not pretending the crisis wasn't real. He was declaring that God is more real than the crisis. But here's the question that cuts the deepest. Why does God allow war at all? I'm not going to give you a shallow answer. The Bible is honest about this. Humanity was given free will, the capacity to choose love or hatred, peace or destruction. And history is the story of what happens when humanity consistently chooses power over people. Wars are not God's design. They are the consequence of a world that has rejected the ways of God. But here's what's remarkable. Even inside the chaos, God is still working. Romans 8:28 says, "All things work together for good to those who love God." All things, not some things, not the comfortable things, all things. That doesn't mean war is good. It means God is so sovereign that even the worst things humans do cannot derail his ultimate purpose. And now, here's where neuroscience meets the Bible in a way that will stay with you. Researchers at Harvard Medical School studied what happens to the brain during regular prayer, meditation on Scripture, and intentional declaration of faith. What they found was remarkable. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for peace, clarity, and hope, showed increased activity. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, became less reactive. In simple words, when you consistently anchor your mind in God's truth, your brain physically changes. Your capacity for peace grows stronger. Your capacity for fear grows weaker. This is what David was doing in Psalm 46, what Isaiah was doing in chapter 41, what Paul was commanding in Philippians 4:6 when he wrote, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds." Guard your hearts and minds. God knew that the mind would be the battlefield long before neuroscience had a word for it. So what do you do right now, today, practically, when the news pulls you under, when the anxiety rises, when the fear gets loud? Do this. Stop scrolling. Take one slow breath and speak this out loud. God is my refuge. He is present in this chaos. He has never lost control. And because he holds this world, he holds me. Say it slowly. Mean every single word. Because here's what your brain does with repetition. It accepts it as reality. The more you declare truth over fear, the more your whole being begins to respond to that truth. This is not denial. This is not ignoring reality. This is choosing the higher reality, the one that doesn't change when headlines do. Now, I want to ask you something directly. In the middle of everything happening in the world right now, what is your mind feeding on? Because you will become what you consistently consume. Feed on fear, and you will live in fear. Feed on truth, and you will live in peace. So right now, type in the comments, "God is my refuge." Let that be your declaration today. Not just words, a choice, a stand, a signal to your own mind that you refuse to let the chaos define you. And if this message gave you something real today, share it with one person right now, because someone in your life is drowning in fear today, and they need exactly this. God is not absent from what is happening in this world. He has not lost control. He has not gone silent. He is present. He is working. And he is still the same God who upheld his people when empires fell and the earth shook. He will uphold you too.